So welcome to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Lana. Now, Lana, I can't pronounce your surname for the life of me. Can you? And I don't want to get it wrong, so I thought I'd ask you to pronounce it for it. It's Lana Wechsler.
Don't worry, you're not the first and you won't be the last. It's a difficult one.
I'm sitting there going, I'm not sure I can do this one. I'm not going to get it right.
It's spelled very confusingly. So you're not it's pronounced Wechsler. It's like there's an X, but there's no X.
But there's no X. So, Lana, I had intentions of touching base with her at the recent event in Manly Beach, Australia, in Sydney, which is just an absolutely gorgeous part of the world, and to fly over there and to meet all these industry leaders who not only just talk the talk, they're walking it, they're living it, 6-7 figures and probably beyond, bumping shoulders with these people. They're incredible people to be around, and unfortunately for me, although I met a lot of really fantastic people, it was unfortunate that the breaks were so short. I could see Lana in the corner and she was mixing and mingling, and I thought, how do I get there? How do I say hello? How do I introduce myself? And it just didn't happen. It seemed as if the breaks were about 30 seconds long. They weren't, but so Lana, how was that show for you? How did you enjoy the event?
I loved it. Yeah, It was great. And, for me, it's just great to connect with people who I've spoken to, online, and then you get to meet them in real life, which is great. And everyone's doing such interesting things. It's just great to kind of touch base with people and see what they're up to, and like everyone's on their own journey, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, look, there was a different format on the day with the host giving out 2 spots. I'm just interested. We talk a little bit about the people behind the business, and we'll touch on that shortly, if you don't mind. But how did it come about that you got a berth in this particular very well-known event?
I don't know. James was kind enough to pluck me out of the crowd, I guess. I've known James for a while, and I guess he's seen my progression, and I guess he thought I was up for the task. So,
wow. Yeah. Now, look, there wasn't this idea that he changed up his format. Instead of having a lot of different presenters, and instead of going for quantity, he was going definitely for quality. There was no doubt, after looking back, hindsight's 2020, he said he took a bit of a gamble, and it paid in spades, because, for me as a front row audience member, I was just enthralled. Although I was trying not to pick up my pen and take notes, he told us not to, but I was sitting there, put down the pen. I was battling myself, but you had lots to say about a couple of different fields, and very, very informative, very almost bordering on that technical level. I could tell that you are passionate about it. But before we touch on that, Lana, what happens with you? What's your story, and how did you get to be in the space that you're in? And tell us a little bit about yourself, because we like to go one step behind the business before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'm not like your typical entrepreneurial story where I hated my job and I finally broke free from corporate. I don't have that story, actually. No, like I used to be in corporate. I used to work in funds management for probably like 10 years, and I loved my job. Yep. So I used to be in data analytics and data analysis, and I really enjoyed it. I worked with really, really smart people, and there's always something new happening. I love the fund management space. I used to work for a quant manager, and I guess it all kind of changed for me when I went to have my first child, and I had every intention of going back to my corporate life. But post having a child, I didn't quite expect the bond I would have with my first child, and I sort of couldn't really go back part time, and so unfortunately, but in hindsight, also fortunately, I was forced to make a decision. So, do I want to continue or change the tack? So, given my new exposure to motherhood, I kind of chose that. Yep, and that sort of sparked a different journey for me. So I guess, I I have that background, but it wasn't that I hated it at all. Anyway, so I thought, well, what can I do for myself where I can choose my hours and ultimately like work from home.
Yep.
So I could be with my kids, and I started on my online journey, which it was a series of pivots along the way till I settled on PPC, and I, given my background, it seems so obvious in hindsight, but it didn't hit me straight away. And then when I finally did land on it, I thought, oh, this is my shtick. This is me.
That's you.
And I just, that's me. And I just went, what are they called? 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep in it.
Yep.
And that's all I do. And I'm glad you picked up on my passion for it, because I really do love it. Like it's just awesome. And there's so much you can do. It's so versatile. And it's just great.
Not having seen you prior to the event give a speech about your chosen field. If I were James, it would be quite apparent to me, given the way, the pace and the energy at which you deliver your content. I was kind of annoyed at the end of it, to be honest, because it was over.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so because that really that's my thing. I love digging deep into analytics, and there is just so much to learn, and the field is so vast and varied. But I guess in a roundabout way, I'd like to, by the end of it, I guess reduce this complexity.
As you said, it is really vast, and I guess my challenge at the talk was to give enough to give people exposure without kind of losing people who aren't interested along the way. It was quite a tough gig, because there's some people in the room like yourself, as you say, that wanted more, and some people are like, oh my god, I can't take it anymore, too much.
Yeah, how do I pay? How do I pay you to do this for me?
Yeah, and I just want nothing to do with this. Yeah. Whereas some people are like, keep going, this is awesome. So it's kind of a challenge. But I guess I'm happy to attempt to demystify it, because it is a vast space. It is quite confusing. But I think where the confusion is due to overwhelm. And if you kind of understand the high level helicopter view basics, then you can kind of then take on the minutiae and see where it fits into the big picture.
And it's so easy to, I guess, be hitting the glasses with this minutiae and not see reality about what this is. Right. And just to clarify for the My Future Business audience, what are we talking about today, and what does it mean? What is PPC, for example?
Okay, so PPC is obviously an acronym that stands for pay per click. Not, if we say it really fast, sounds like pay per click. It's not pay per click, it's pay per click. So you only pay for someone to come to your website on a per click basis.
Right.
So if you think of Google ads, you show your ad on google.com, the only time that you will pay Google for that click is when someone clicks on your ad.
Right. So are there many different types of PPC?
Well, that's right. Yeah. So Google has their own PPC platform or advertising platform. Facebook is, I find it's generally, you can pay for a click, but it's generally you pay for an impression. So you pay for someone to see the ad.
Okay.
And yeah, like I guess it's just an advertising model.
Right.
But most online advertising models are PPC.
And I've kept it fairly rudimentary because, depending on the level of understanding and interpretation of what we're talking about today, I think if we go to the bare bones basic, down to the question of what is PPC, then everybody that's listening to this call will get, an entry-level understanding of what this is. I notice on your website you were talking about Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, content promotion. The list is wide and varied. When you're starting out with this, given what we know of our audience, which one did they use first? Do they try to do all of them?
Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't recommend that. It obviously really depends on your business. It depends on the industry you are in.
Yeah.
You've really got to put yourself in the mind of your ideal customer, that end user, and think about where are they in their head and where do they hang out online.
Yeah.
Really. And usually the best place for people to start is by doing Google search. So that's when, if you think about it, you go to google.com and someone might type in financial advisor Sydney, I'm in Sydney, or Adelaide, and then there's intent there, they're looking, and therefore it's about then your marketing steps in and how can you convince them that you're the right person for the job.
So you're so you're talking about creating somewhat of an avatar for this, for the people that you're trying to market to. Is that what this is about partly?
Kind of. Well, it's more about so if you think about all different forms of advertising, even putting an ad in a local paper, for example, which is obviously the traditional or the old school form of advertising, you have no way of pre-qualifying the people that see that ad in the local paper. You don't know if they're looking for a financial advisor. They might have one they're very happy with, and they might not be in a position to be taking one. And there's no way to pre-qualify those people or to isolate them that they want one. Compare that to when someone who's actively typing something into Google, financial advisor, even down to a specific suburb, which might qualify them even more. You know that they're looking for a financial advisor. They've just typed that in.
Yeah.
So you've ticked that box of is this something that they want?
Yeah.
And then it's about showing your ad to that specific person at the very point that they've typed that in. So you're effectively sliding your business card under the nose of them for someone who is actively looking for what you offer.
Right. So,
and once again, you only pay when someone clicks on your ad.
And that's the big thing, isn't it? You're only paying per click. And you're talking about impressions as well. Is that charged the same way, or is that something different? How does that part of the deal work?
That's more Facebook, but that's usually not the best place to start. Purely because I like to start with search.
Right.
Google search. Because you know that they want that. So you've eliminated the variable of, does someone want a financial advisor? You're not trying to, shove your business into their face. You know that they're looking for it.
Yeah.
So a common next question that people ask, well, how much do I pay for a click? And the answer depends on the industry, because it's an auction. So people are bidding on different keywords. So you can imagine different keywords have different costs or value, etc. So how much you pay, the answer is depends.
It depends, yeah. What are the I'm a newbie. I've just started up my practice. I've got a few clients. I only want to go locally. And there's all of these different paid analytics options out there. But then I see Google and their analytics system. Why would I go out and pay for analytics data when Google Analytics puts it in front of me for free? Is there any benefit in getting paid analytics?
I personally don't pay for extra analytics. I find Google Analytics
is enough,
more than sufficient for my needs. It integrates really beautifully with Google AdWords, which is the pay-per-click platform, because they're both Google products.
Yeah, okay, and that's a real big takeaway. If somebody like Ilana is using Google Analytics and I guess pushing all the rest of these options to the side, and there are some pretty incredible products out there that gathering analytics and reporting on them, etc. But getting into Google Analytics is just a complete another story in itself, is it not?
I teach Google Analytics at Sydney University, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I was aware of that. I'd heard this. Yes, I'd heard this. I've done my research.
It's a vast platform as well, so you can do a lot with it.
Yeah. So when we're coming into this, what's the process for setting up my first PPC campaign with Google?
Okay, so I would say to people, if you're going to do it yourself, which you absolutely can, it is not rocket science. I would educate yourself to some degree, because there are a lot of really sneaky pitfalls that little landmines that Google place that are designed to Google more money and you to spend more money, which is often not in your best interest.
Right.
So without going into the specifics, there's certain things that you do need to set up, but you can set up your account pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a free ebook on my site, which I can send you a link to.
Yeah.
It kind of has my 10 classic mistakes that people make. 'Cause
Okay.
I do hundreds of thousands of AdWords audits.
Yep.
And often all I have to do is ask someone a question of, have you set this up yourself, without any prior training? And if they say yes, I know exactly what they've done. They've done these classic mistakes that everyone does, and I don't blame people. I would probably do the same if I was none the wiser.
Yep.
So you can go through that report.
Okay.
It's just a few pages long, and we can make that available, obviously, to your listeners.
Thank you.
And then, no pleasure. Honestly, it really pains me when I see, I audit these accounts and people have wasted a fortune on AdWords, giving Google really unnecessary money, and it's like it hurts. I don't know. I feel sorry for people when they fall into this really, really common trap. So,
what we normally do is post call. We put together a podcast review in a post format. So for everybody who's listening, that link will be there, and people can find Ilana at our audience can find you at your website, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And it's easy for me to say this, that I am that very person, because when I started out, I thought, I can do this, I can do that. Yeah. I've got all the time in the world. In actual fact, you've got the same amount of time as everybody else. It's just how you slice it up in your day as to whether or not, coming back to the whole point of the My Future Business show, will determine how successful your business is. Now, I know that the likes of James will say to us, it's not necessarily how big you are, and it's not necessarily the best thing for you to become big. It's better for you to understand how to scale by using resources like Lana's and like others. How do you deal with that inside your own business, Lana? Have you scaled up? Do you have a big team? How do you operate?
We're a team of 4.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of have chosen a couple of verticals that we specialise in. Mm-hmm. So this is one of them, actually. I guess the issue with PPC is that it is very bespoke. And that's, I think wherein lies the genius of it, is that it is so customable for any kind of business. But that makes running this stuff at scale a challenge. But,
Yeah.
every business has its challenges.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly. So I guess the takeaway from this is it's not bigger is not necessarily better. It's about adopting and using technology and creating relationships with a few core providers, so that you as the business owner can step back and say, hey, look, I essentially handball this to the likes of Green Arrow Digital or whoever else, or I have a mentor. And just on mentors, how valuable has getting mentoring and coaching? I guess they're a little bit different, but what level of value do you place on mentorship and coaching?
Oh, huge. I think, no matter where you are in your business, you can always learn something from someone else and getting a different perspective. And especially for me, I'm so in my world, and it is a little world, it is a little bubble. And it's good to sort of poke my head up and have a look around and get some really differing opinions from other people, which is really helpful. So, and I coach people on the PPC side as well, and they get value from my perspective as well. So I receive coaching and I give coaching, and I think that's really important as well, because I also learn from my students too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I often find myself head down in a book or an audio book. What are you currently reading? Or do you have audio books? How do you learn? What's your thing?
Oh, what's my thing? I love reading. I also like reading non-businessy books. Sort of get my head out of work.
Yep.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yep.
I love podcasts. So whilst driving, I kind of feel like they saved my life a little bit. Just learnt so much from them, and love listening to businessy podcasts as well. Like, I'm just so interested in people, and I guess that's what I love about what I do as well, is that I really talk to business owners a lot and find out their story. And so from a podcast perspective, I love like the Conversation Hour, for example, because it's just extraordinary stories about people you would have otherwise never heard of.
Never heard of,
PPC.
yeah. That is a big part of how My Future Business differentiates itself as far as podcast goes, because I go one level behind the business, the nuts and bolts of running a business, to the people, because as you've just talked about, you get a lot more out of the conversation when you learn a little bit about the struggles and the loves and the passions and the drivers behind why people are doing things in their lives. And, you know, we only get a one-shot, this is a one-shot deal, so you must be doing something that you love, otherwise why are you bothering?
Well, that's right. I mean, I think life's too short, you know. And I heard a saying a really long time ago, you stop working the minute you enjoy what you do.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I'm a real believer in that.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, life's too short to do something you hate. I don't know. Like, there's so much you can do that why waste time on something that you hate? It's just not worth it. And even if it's good money, like, get to a point where it's just like, money's just not worth it. It's funny, like, my dream as a, you know, uni student was to work for one of those big global, you know, investment banking firms. And, and I did, actually. And it was the worst experience of my life. You know? I mean, it was really terrible. And I lasted 11 long and painful months.
Wow!
Until I just said I can't do this anymore.
You felt like a bit of a lemming in a cubicle.
Oh, this is a true story. I haven't told many people this story, but I went through 7 rounds of interviews, right? So finally I get in, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like I've run a marathon. I'm finally in. Yep. Like literally the first hour on my first day, the job. First hour, first day, I'm ready.
First 60 minutes, we're into it.
Let's go. You know? And my boss pulls me into a meeting room, and he sits me down, and he says, you know, welcome. I'm like, thanks, you know, like literally on the edge of my seat. And he says, okay, if there's one thing that you got to remember here, you just listen. And I'm like, oh, I think I can remember one thing. Okay, you know, what's that? You know, and he's like, trust no one.
Oh, like, there's a cultural slap in the face.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was speechless. Like my jaw literally hit the floor. Oh. And he's like, people who you think are your friends are not your friends. Just remember that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that might be your modus operandi, but it's certainly not mine.
I know.
Wow.
And it's just unnecessary. Anyway.
No, you don't need that. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I don't think that is actually, unfortunately, it's not so uncommon. It's quite common to hear disaster stories like that, because I think, we quickly go up this corporate ladder. We think it's the thing we want to do, and as we're climbing, we realise, the grass is not necessarily greener at the top, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah, and I think you envisage something in your head as, oh, I've made it now. I'm here. I've just got my seat at the table, and then it's not what you imagine, and then it's like, right, okay, we're going to have to recalibrate this now. Where to now?
Yeah, well, that's a pretty hard expectation to follow. It doesn't set the scene for a positive workplace environment or culture. It happens a lot that way, unfortunately. But so coming back to your greatest hits, if you like, your greatest achievements. Yeah. So what was the project for you, without naming names, that really solidified and made you realise that Green Arrow Digital should become a thing, should become a service provider? How did that come about?
Oh, God, it's been such a journey. What can I tell you? I guess it's a series of initial failures. Yep. I tried affiliate marketing. Mm-hmm. Actually, what started was because I'm a bit of a spreadsheet junkie, being given my background. Yep. So, fresh out of corporate and, wondering what I'm going to do for myself, I thought, what can I do? So I thought, well, I've got spreadsheets, Excel skills. Yep. I've kind of got an IT background of programming, and so I used to integrate with databases. So I thought, well, that's a skill. Surely other businesses could use that. Mm-hmm. So I put an ad on Gumtree. Actually, we're talking like 10 years ago now.
Good old Gumtree.
Saying good old country. That's just 10 years ago. Because I didn't know you could advertise, right?
Yeah.
So I put an ad on Gumtree advertising my Excel skills and my background and blah, blah, blah. And to my surprise, I actually got quite a lot of interest and I got a lot of work out of it.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, this is cool. And so then I was doing that for a little while and I thought, well, this is a business,
Yeah.
I need a website.
Yeah.
So I built a website and then no one came.
Oh, crickets. Timely.
Exactly. And so then I thought, well, how can I get people to my website? Like this is, I'm onto something here.
Yep.
So I started ringing around at some digital agencies and they were talking AdWords to me. And I'm like, that's the business I want to do.
Wow.
So that kind of started the whole journey, I guess you could say.
Well, thank you for sharing that because I'm looking at your website at the moment and it's greenarrowdigital.com. And, there's a lot of information there that everybody that is on this, listening to this call should go and visit and introduce yourself to Ilana. And I've not actually dug through the many pages I'm sure there are, but we will make available some downloads for you on the post for this call at myfuturebusiness.com. And Ilana, it's been a short but sweet call with you. I know full well that giving 2 sessions over the course of 2 days, we could talk literally for hours, but yeah.
Sure we could.
Yeah, so instead, if the audience who are listening to this are interested in Facebook ads, starting off at Google search would be the way to go. And then if you're a little more advanced, then you would suggest maybe Facebook ads. Is that the hierarchy of this, Lana?
Well, Facebook is different. I mean, I think for your kind of industry, I would say Facebook ads for content promotion would be really good. So, for example, you might have an article about possibly, up and coming changes for self-managed super funds, but with the superior targeting that Facebook ads does provide, you can get that article really in front of your target customer. And then at the end of that article, you might say, find out more information here, et cetera, et cetera. So it's what's called, interruption marketing. It's different.
It's something that occurred to me. If Google owns YouTube, is it something that aligns with the idea of start with Google first is to start doing YouTube ads? Because I've seen a few people in our space doing that type of advertising. Is that something you can help them with?
Yeah, that's once again a different type of marketing as well, actually. But look, some people, it honestly really comes down to who your target person is and where are they hanging out online.
So it's very unique to your business.
It's very unique to your business, yeah. And I guess that's part of my job is for my clients to tell me who their customer is and I find where they are online. But in the crux of it, that's what it is. It's about putting your message in front of your target person in the medium at which they're hanging out online.
So for our audience who choose to contact you, Ilana, what's the process? Do you have an application? Do you have some sort of a questionnaire? What is the process that they can expect to go through?
Yes, I do have an application process. It is greenarrowdigital.com/apply.
Right.
And there's just a couple of questions so that I can get a bit of a sense of what your business is, who your target audience is, et cetera, et cetera. And then we progress from there to a discussion, see if we're both a good fit, obviously, and the best way forward.
Excellent. Well, look, Ilana, thank you very much for spending just a little bit of time with me today. Days are always busy, so thank you so much for coming on the My Future Business Show.
My absolute pleasure.